So, in part one, which I'll put a link in the description for, we looked at the heliocentric spinning ball model and the Big Bang Theory. We were also introduced to Admiral Byrd, who was an American naval officer and explorer who'd done many expeditions to Antarctica. On one of Admiral Byrd's expeditions, he discovered land as big as the United States that had never been seen by another human being. He also discovered the Great Ice Barrier. Shortly after Operation High Jump and Operation Deep Freeze, the Antarctic Treaty was signed. Whilst the Antarctic Treaty was being enforced and other Antarctica expeditions were being carried out, there was another USA intelligence program going on that was called Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip was a secret United States intelligence program where more than 1,600 Nazi German scientists, engineers and technicians, who some, I might add, were responsible for war crimes against humanity, were brought over from Nazi Germany to the United States after World War II, given visas and government employment. The main purpose of Operation Paperclip was to gain an advantage in the space race. One of these men that was brought over was named Wernher von Braun, and he was a German aerospace engineer who was a member of the Nazi Party and SS. In 1960, 2 years after NASA had been founded, von Braun's group was combined with NASA, where he served as director of the newly formed Marshall Space Flight Center. Now, what I find very suspicious is how closely dated Admiral Byrd's expeditions, the founding of NASA, and the signing of the Antarctic Treaty are. Could it be that Admiral Byrd's expeditions had not only found the ice barrier that encompasses the Earth and looks nothing like the sections of ice that you are shown on the TV Wildlife Blue Planet programs, or anything like people's photos of their organised guided trips to Antarctica? Could it be that Admiral Byrd found way more than just the ice barrier? Could it be that he found the firmament that covers our Earth? And where was the ice barrier that we saw in Admiral Byrd's film footage in part one of this series? Because it seems to me that people on guided tours are being shown a fake Antarctica. Now back to Wernher von Braun. Von Braun is widely seen as the father of space travel, father of rocket science, and father of the American lunar program. And I think we can safely say that he was a very intelligent man and was clearly hired for his expert knowledge. So I find it truly amazing that he had this to say in his 1953 co-authored book, Conquest of the Moon. It is commonly believed that man will fly directly from the Earth to the Moon, but to do this we would require a vehicle of such gigantic proportions that it would prove an economic impossibility. It would have to develop sufficient speed to penetrate the atmosphere and overcome the Earth's gravity, and having travelled all the way to the Moon, it must still have enough fuel to land safely and make the return trip to the Earth. So we have the very man that we are told made the moon landing possible saying basically here that it is an impossibility to do. So von Braun said basically it's impossible to go. So let's ask the question that you all know that I am getting at, and that is, did we ever go to the moon in the first place? So here I will call my first witness to the stand, who apparently had a front row seat. We welcome Buzz Freemason Aldrin.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. because we didn't.
So, do we have any other astronauts that can give us some information about the shape of our Earth?
Pan tam był. Czy Ziemia rzeczywiście jest kulą zawieszoną w kosmosie?
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
Generał Mirosław Hermaszewski, jak dotąd pierwszy i ostatni Polak, który odbył lot orbitalny. Dziękuję serdecznie za rozmowę.
Dziękuję, kłaniam się. Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
Just in case anyone might think that he could be saying anything, here is the translation on Google Translate. Let's take a look at some other incriminating footage to show that these guys are nothing but liars that have happily taken lots of money over the years to deceive the world.
Yeah, right here's fine. I'm Bart with ABC Digital.
How you doing?
I was given a classified tape from the Apollo program. It's 31 years old. It's an unedited reel, including outtakes from the mission. It's got about 20 takes of a single shot of the mission.
What mission?
Apollo 11.
Yes.
And the photography is being forged in the mission. They're faking a shot of being halfway to the moon. And they refer to you on the tape as a shot that was done during Apollo 10, where you put a transparency over the window and move the camera of the Earth and move the camera back away from the window, turn off the lights in the spacecraft, and appeared to be halfway to the moon when in fact they were in Earth orbit.
Huh, really?
Yeah, and they said it was the same way that you did it on Apollo 10. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to put your left hand on the Bible, to raise your right hand, to swear to God.
Stick it in your ear.
Well, you were giving you an opportunity to swear to God under oath that you walked on the moon.
I don't do that kind of thing.
Well, if you really walked on the moon, what's the problem of swearing to God that you did? Do you believe in God?
You want me to knock you in the head?
Well, I want you to swear to
Get
God
away
on the
from me.
Bible that you
Get
walked on
away
the
from
moon.
me, okay?
If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
And here is some of the footage in question.
An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr. and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance, in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. It cannot be misconstrued that this staging was done for some other reason prior to the mission, for the reel itself is slated and dated July 18th, 19th and 20th, 1969, the very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit. Furthermore, it is apparent they are in genuine zero gravity aboard the actual spacecraft, necessary to convince the mass media of their authenticity, just not any further than Earth orbit, as you will see. In this never-before-seen or heard footage, not only is the radio conversation between the astronauts and Houston Control audible, there is a secondary, private conversation taking place between the crew and a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect. NASA claims that the Houston transmissions were the only ones taking place with the astronauts. Listen now as Houston Control initiates a conversation with the crew, only to find them too preoccupied with the behind-the-scenes trickery to respond. Moments pass and the oversight is picked up on by the clandestine third party, who quickly prompts them with, "Talk." Immediately, Neil Armstrong speaks.
says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're zooming in on Earth.
Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private. Until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later.
Roger, Neil, we just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get the playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top, which together form 2 different sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date, when he is in reality in low Earth orbit of a few hundred miles.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off beyond the terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it.
Blue cast. See white bands of major cloud formations across the Earth.
This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert. Finally, the iris is opened up and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July, and the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July, and then the 20th, and the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away?
And some of the footage of Mr. Aldrin himself being questioned about it.
I think when you see the footage, you'll see that it's
Wow.
very extraordinary, one of a kind,
Okay.
behind the scenes type
Yeah.
of footage.
Yeah. Well, if it is, why do you have access to something that no one else has seen before?
Serendipity, I guess. And it was recorded on the 18th
Of what?
of July, 1969.
Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over.
Do you remember this?
On the 18th?
Sure. Okay, Roger. Apollo 11, Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Sure. Okay, Roger. Roger, Neil, we just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get the playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light. And we only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with the TV camera.
It shows that you're in Earth orbit. Now, if the moon is 3 days away, and this is late, on the 18th, how could you possibly walk on the moon 2 days later when this was shot on the 18th?
You want me to sit in front of a camera while you're taking pictures, you're showing this, and then you want to see my reaction?
I know for a fact that
That's slimy journalism. Do you realize that?
if
You ought to be ashamed of
if you read the
yourself.
document that I have in here, you'll find that it's not. That this is a personal plea to do what is right.
Well, we sit and we talk about things ahead of
This is the
time.
document that you'll want to see.
Place the camera at the back of the spacecraft.
I know for a fact
But
that
what it is you're trying to do is unethical. You don't believe that?
It is completely
No, I do not.
with the Earth
Well,
in low
then we have a difference of opinion.
The circumference of the window.
this is where you're using the window of the spacecraft to appear to be the Earth far away. We got the raw footage of it. We have an auxiliary track, someone prompting you when
That
to
is why
speak.
they wanted the interior.
You believe in UFOs?
No, I do
Believe
not.
we've been visited by? Well, why do
No, I
you want to
don't.
believe this stuff?
I know for a fact we've had this analyzed, and this is the window, and you're in, and it's dated by an atomic clock at the Goldstone tracking station, which is on the tape.
Well, you're
Said
talking to
that-
the wrong guy. Why
You
don't
were
you
there.
talk to the administrator in NASA? We're passengers. We're guys going on a flight. We're not.
I know for a fact that it didn't. And this tape would prove it in a court of law.
Subsequently, this
It would.
tape was never used.
Why don't
It
you
would.
try? Why don't you put your money into a court of law and see how people laugh at you?
Was inset
You want it-
slightly into the
No
window.
one has
Is your
laughed.
camera working?
No one has laughed.
If the window was
And this makes
completely
you
filled up with a TV
the
camera, as
real
it is,
famous person
then
that
an
has
astronaut
discovered
would
this
not
and
be able to get the
reveals
TV
all
camera
this
out the
stuff.
window, as it
What an
obviously
ego you
appears
must
in
have
this
to want to propel yourself like this.
That's not why I'm doing it, and God knows that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for the truth to come out because I think it was wrong.
You can also notice how the
No,
astronaut
but you're doing
operating
it the wrong
camera
way. You don't
reacted
mislead
to
somebody
this
like me
by
to come in
attempting
here.
to
and-
pan
If you
away.
didn't go to the moon, that's misleading people. I'm showing you this
Okay,
tape.
we went to the moon. We're not misleading anybody.
Then how is it possible
This
that
is a segment
this is the
that
window
indeed wasn't
it's
even
shot
being recorded.
to make
Much
it look
less
like
Look,
this
you
is
can
far away?
manufacture all you want with
This
these
is
things.
straight. This isn't
And the scene was
manufactured.
being
Sure.
You know that it
to
isn't.
that of an interior of the astronauts at work.
I
And
believe this would
apparently
prove it in a
the
court of law that you did not go to the moon.
You
It's dated on the 18th. It proves when you remove
Will
the
you
crystal.
give me your
Here's
business
the light.
card?
It's all in there.
Camera controls,
It's all
but
in there.
not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert.
This proves that it's the window. You can see them removing the crescent insert that you did to create the Terminator line in front of
You're
the
so
window.
full of shit, I
When they
can't
were
believe
in
it.
Earth orbit.
If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit. Okay?
So let's see how these so-called astronauts handle questioning.
How's it going? Remember me?
What's your name?
Bart Sibrel.
Would you give your name to my assistant?
Yeah, I got one for you, one for your lawyer to sue me.
That's right.
I hope you do. I'd love to go to court and show a window shot.
I know you'd like to get a lot of attention, wouldn't you?
Well, you're the one getting money for something you didn't do. You're getting a lecture for walking on the moon when you didn't. Well, that's called being a thief.
Why don't you just
That's called being a thief. Do you think you can get to heaven without repenting? Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
Please?
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
I'm not trying to get in the middle of anything.
Tell him to get out of here.
This is a hotel.
We'll call the police.
We pay.
Come on in here, we'll call the police.
Solicit on
You like that?
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
It doesn't, sir, I don't have nothing to do with this, but
Okay.
you cannot solicit on this property.
We just paid to rent out the penthouse to shoot up there. So
You can't solicit like this on this property.
keep shooting.
All right, well, then I'd go through my measures.
Yeah.
You got to keep shooting, man. Okay. Well, you can put it on your shoulder. Don't be shy.
Just come with me, Buzz.
You really like attention, don't you?
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
You could see these things shoot by. We all saw it.
Not on our mission, by the way, they hadn't been discovered yet.
We did it on more than one mission.
I guess you knew von Braun, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They found a publication of his that he did prior to the goal being set to go to the moon. And in it he says, "It is commonly believed that man will fly directly from the Earth to the moon. But to do this, we would require a vehicle of such gigantic proportions that it would prove an economic impossibility. Calculations have been carefully worked out on the type of vehicle we would need for the non-stop flight from the Earth to the moon and to return. The figures speak for themselves. 3 rockets would be necessary. Each rocket ship would be taller than the Empire State Building, 1,250 feet, and weigh about 10 times the tonnage of the Queen Mary, or some 800,000 tons. Now, the Saturn V rocket weighed 2,500 tons. Now, that's a difference of 32,000%. How do you explain that change was made within a 3-year period? Mr. Armstrong, Bart Sibrel, ABC Digital. Wanted to give you the opportunity to swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon. Will you put your left hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Gentlemen.
Mr. Sibrel.
Yes? If you really walked on the moon, why would you not do that? So why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Sibrel, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Really? Well, no, it's a real Bible. You have the opportunity to have $5,000.
The meeting is not open.
Well, you have $5,000 cash. You can give it to charity if you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon.
Please
I have
give
the
it to
tape.
charity. It'd be fine.
Why don't you
I
swear to? Why not? Why won't you do it? So why don't you put your hand on the Bible and swear to God that you walked on the moon?
Mr. Sibrel has made a fool of himself in front of the world. Mr. Sibrel, you do not deserve answers.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
And you might say, what about the famous moon picture with the Earth in the background and the Red Bull jump from space? Are they real? Sorry to disappoint, but the Earth in the background pic is photoshopped, and the Red Bull jump uses a fisheye lens that gives the impression of the curvature. If you look closely, you can see the apparent curve distort, which proves a fisheye lens is being used. Also, when the door opens before he jumps, you can see a perfectly flat horizon.
Click on this picture right here. Supposedly the same mission, same guys that took the picture of the most famous picture of our Earth. I'm going to do save image as, And let's see, Apollo Moon, let's call it Apollo Moon 17. And I'm going to open that in Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on the Earth. I'm going to go to Image, Adjust, Levels, and I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. Why is there a square box around the Earth allegedly taken from the scientists on the moon in Apollo 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA. That's why I don't trust NASA. I mean, they're always out there saying, you know, Rob, everybody's trying to show you stuff from space and you keep rejecting it. This is why I reject it. These guys are liars.
So, I mean, if we never went to the moon, then this picture is not real.
Right.
For instance, on the Red Bull dives that Felix Baumgartner did that everybody has seen, if you notice, the outside cameras are clearly wide-angle lens, and then there's an inside cockpit camera that isn't. And as you're watching it from the outside cameras, you'll notice that the supposed curvature of the ball Earth starts really early on, just as he's lifting off, and the exact same curvature stays exactly the same all the way up to the point where he's going to jump. So the curve is the same, but his altitude has risen by many, many miles. The reason the curve is the same, of course, is because it's a wide-angle lens effect. It's not actually the curve of the horizon. It just seems that way.
Right.
And that's proven by the inside camera, which, as the door opens, you can see the horizon out that inside camera. It has risen to the eye of the camera. People are always asking, why do they do this? I mean, other than the obvious profit margin motive, NASA being the biggest black budget black hole in existence, sucking in over $30 billion taxpayer money for the fake moon landings alone. Nowadays, hundreds of billions of dollars, and not just NASA, but RASA and all the other fake space organizations around the world giving CGI images for hundreds of billions of dollars.
You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you are trying to build and to sustain.
So by surreptitiously indoctrinating us into their scientific materialist sun worship, not only do we lose faith in anything beyond the material, we gain absolute faith in materiality, superficiality, status, selfishness, hedonism, and consumerism. If there's no God and everyone's just an accident, then all that really matters is me, me, me. So they've turned Madonna, the mother of God, into the material girl living in a material world.
It's all about making us feel nothing, so that we can be used. If everybody realised how special we all are, how unique every single life is, then this whole world would change overnight. We wouldn't allow ourselves to be used by this cabal.
I start from the supposition that the world is topsy-turvy, that things are all wrong, that the wrong people are in jail, and the wrong people are out of jail, that the wrong people are in power, that the wealth is distributed in this country and the world in such a way as not simply to require small reform, but to require a drastic reallocation of wealth. All we have to do is think about the state of the world today and realize that things are all upside down. Now, if you don't think, if you just listen to TV and read scholarly things, you actually begin to think that things are not so bad, or that just little things are wrong. But you have to get a little detached and then come back and look at the world, and you are horrified. Now, as soon as you say the topic is civil disobedience, you're saying our problem is civil disobedience. That is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. If Yah leads you to support this ministry, our PayPal link is in the video description. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you would like, you can also join our Facebook group. Thank you for watching and supporting this ministry.
Thank you for watching.